Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Friday reads time. In case you were wondering, yes, I did survive the camping trip, although it was a near call at some points. It's September the 1st, which is the beginning of spring here in Australia. And I'm looking forward to that meaning a little bit more sunshine. It's not that great today, but it'll do. We'll manage. I read a few things this week. None of them really blew my socks off, but a few of them were okay. I'm going to start with the last one that I read, and I might actually run backwards in time. The most recent one that I finished is The Falcon's Malteser by Anthony Horowitz. This is the first of a series, middle grade detective sort of stories that are all spoofs on film noir famous movies. So The Falcon's Malteser is obviously off of the Maltese Falcon. Others in the series are the South by Southeast, and there's The Blurred Man, and there's The French Confection, and there's half a dozen of these. I picked it up because I was looking for a book that would suit one of my kids who does not really share my taste in literature. For him, what's really important is, a high number of jokes per page. And for him, I think this will be a winner. Bad puns at the rate of about 4 a page. And apart from that, it's nothing to write home about, but it may well suit my son. So there's that. Before that one, I read a novella, Nnedi Okorofor's Binti, Home. Now, this is the second in a cycle of novellas after last year's Binti, which I really loved. I really loved Binti. I loved the central character. I loved the themes it was dealing with. It just really worked for me. Not everybody jived with it. Nnedi Okorofor has I think she has acquired taste. I have to say I did not enjoy Binti Home quite as much. I feel quite gypped by where it ended because it doesn't really have a beginning, middle and end. It's one of those things where it's a larger story arc which is just being cut for length is what it felt like to me. I really didn't feel like the end was at all a conclusion, and that always pisses me off. Having said that, there are some really interesting themes in this one. The first book is about a 16, 17-year-old who, against her family's wishes, goes away to university. In her case, it's about going off-planet to a university, and she comes from a people group in Africa who were very, very community oriented and very, very insular. So for them, leaving the neighborhood is a big step, and she didn't do that. She left the planet. So in this second story, a lot of the thematic stuff is about coming home. She comes back after a year away at the university. She comes back, and that is a very complex thing emotionally. And I think that stuff was really well done in the book. There were many other things in it that I didn't enjoy as much. Anyway, so it's kind of, I'm not, yeah, it's sort of a, yeah. I'm hopeful that the third one, which I believe is coming out in January, will save this whole experience for me. I am definitely planning on reading the third one, but yeah, we're not there yet. Now, the second book that I read this week was Stina Leicht's Blackthorne. This is the follow-up to her Cold Iron, which is the beginning of a series. I can't remember what she's calling the series. Cold Iron I read only a few months ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's a flintlock fantasy. I thought there were some really interesting things that were going on. So the main people that it's point of view characters in Cold Iron are all elves. That's not what they're called in the story, but they're non-human magic users in a world where there are humans, but the humans are kind of the barbarians at the gate in the first story. They're kind of the enemy races who are trying to keep, at arm's length. I thought that Cold Iron was a really interesting story, and I really enjoyed the characters, and I was really engaged. So when Blackthorne, which is number 2 in the series, came out, I snapped it up straight away. Then the first quarter of the book, I just spent the whole time scratching my head trying to work out what was going on. I was like, I know that I only read the first one a few months ago, but none of this is familiar. Like, the setting wasn't familiar. None of the characters were familiar. I was just very confused. I was like, have I completely forgotten this story? But it wasn't that. It's like the book just opens in this completely separate, unconnected place, and it takes quite a while for you to get back to any familiar characters, and that really threw me at the beginning of the book, which I, during the week, came up to the conclusion that publishers need to start doing what television series do, what some television series do. And at the beginning, before that new episode starts, you have the previously on Homeland section. How good would it be if in a series book you had 2 pages at the beginning which just caught you up to date with the characters and the places and what's going on in the plot? I think that would be magic. And then I would know, when I wouldn't spend the whole first quarter of this book going, have I met this guy before? I can't remember him, but maybe I have, and I'm just going senile. Anyway, there was 1 or 2 other things that didn't work for me quite as well in Blackthorne as Cold Iron. I'm not going to talk about them at any length because I actually think that there's enough positives, enough good things going on in these books that I should be encouraging people to have a look at them rather than the other way around. But yeah, I didn't have as exciting an experience in this second one as I did in the first one. However, it's a really epic story, and she's bitten off a lot. So that's what you need to expect when you pick these ones up. The first book that I finished this week was Fergus Hume's Mystery of a Hansom Cab, and this is I picked it up because it's a book written in Melbourne that I've always been meaning to read, but never got around to. I thought, basically I was reading it as a kind of a bit of a historical curio. It's a detective story written and set in Melbourne at the end of the 19th century. By about the 30% mark, I was hooked. This is no longer in my consideration a historical curio. I actually just really wanted to know what happened. And the mystery got me. It actually really holds up well. It's not totally like a modern detective story. There's no single protagonist who's kind of the genius who puts everything together. The mystery is unfolded through the work of a number of different people, not just one. And that's, part of the fact that this is such an early example and things hadn't really been, settled about, the way that you write these things. Having said that, I think it's a jolly good read. The copyright is completely gone. You can get this for free online through Project Gutenberg, and I would encourage anybody who's at all intrigued to pick it up and give it a go. So that's what I read in the last week. This week coming, it's a bit of an exciting week. At the end, we're having VidCon in Melbourne, which I'm still struggling to get my head around. I'm not going to actually be here to do a Friday Reads on Friday because I have volunteered to help out at VidCon, and they're having their volunteers training on Friday morning next week. But if I manage it, I will film one on Thursday, and then, you won't have to hang out. I'm not 100% certain what I am going to pick up next. I just finished the Falcon's Malteser this morning. I have got about 4 books that I've had on hold at the library that have just come in. So one of these is the United States of Japan. I've just got my hands on that. Another one is Gap Year in Ghost Town, which is another story set in Melbourne, which I'm a bit excited about. So that one's coming in. And another one is The Prey of the Gods by Nicky Drayden. So those three, and I think one or two others, I will, have to toss a coin or something. A three-sided coin. I don't know that I have a three-sided coin. Anyway, I would love to hear what you guys are reading. If any of you have read one of these books that I've talked about today, I'd love to hear your take on it. I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.